Now, as a reminder, this is what our StructLocalVariable2 no cookie looked like. But I had made reference before to the fact that I didn't kind of like this little bit of uninitialized space here after A and before B. I said, like, why can't we just, squish it all together? Of course, I was dealing with, ints before. We were talking about local variables and stuff like that. But it turns out that there is this thing called attribute packed, which you can apply to structs, and that tells the compiler, hey, don't put any sort of padding like this between the interior members of a struct. Just compress it all together so that it's literally 2 bytes followed by 8 bytes, followed by 8 bytes, etc., etc., etc. So attribute packed, that's the GCC version. It can be named different ways in different compilers, but it just says structs should be squished as tightly as possible. And you may or may not have ever run into this. It kind of depends on whether you were trying to do, for instance, some particular struct that has, very strict guidance about how it looks. So you may or may not have ever noticed the fact that you can actually have these empty padding bytes between members of a struct. So let's go ahead and add that attribute packed to our myStruct and compile it up, and that yields this. But this is a little bit ridiculous. Look at that. This completely explodes the code size. Additionally, it adds new assembly instructions that we're not ready to look at yet, like ands for Boolean logic and shifts. So you know what? I think we're going to come back to this later in the class.